Well, if we look at the wheel of progress of our country, looking at the wheel of progress that we have as a people, and the absence of the president, you still have the acting president in position. Do you get the sense that perhaps even with his presence as acting president, and we have the president outside of the country trying to recuperate, does it reduce the powers he have to be seen by the people as the substantive president while the president is still away?
Unfortunately, that word acting is a very big word, especially when the president is still alive. When the president is still, as we saw in the visit that he got, the president is still an active player, but we don't know the levels of activity that he brings into the equation. You see, what it does is that it creates an instability. It creates an unclearness as to what the status is. And there's an unclearness as to what actions can be taken. Because the word acting actually indicates temporary. And it implies, and the temporariness of it is not specified. For example, the papers now are reading that the president will be back in 2 weeks. So as acting president, depending on your relationship with the president, whatever decisions you are taking that go beyond 2 weeks can be turned over. And even while you are still taking the decision, when the president or his representatives or whoever it is get involved and get in touch with you, there's a question as to, out of deference, what actions can I take? And even if there is none, let's assume, because President Buhari has himself said that he has absolute confidence in the vice president who is the acting president, even when there is no such problem, the man on the street is not sure about that. You see, that's where the problem arises.
Why do you think he's not sure?
Because he's not sure of what the dynamics are in the interaction, what the relationship is. He's not sure how far you can go based on your interaction with the other person. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things happening behind closed doors that therefore creates a spell of uncertainty.
Is there anything that they can do to ensure that the man out there actually knows that, yes, indeed, really and truly, what we've said is the way it is?
Well, the problem is that because there is even no way that it is, he's acting, that's the summary, with his principal in potential position to come back at any time. So there is actually no solution to that. The only solution is if you spell out clearly the length. That's why most people are asking for proper medical records. What's the state of the president? What's the competence level? If social media is full of all manner of things which the president himself and his people have said are lies, and I'm ready to believe them.
So if you were to step on the pedal now, yes, and then let's look at 2019, do you think the president will contest?
Well, I don't even know how well he is. The president could come back in 2 weeks' time, and he might be running around the place, might in fact be running up and down the hills, and so I can't tell him not to run in 2019. I have no, that's why I call it uncertainty. We have no knowledge. This is what you call the worst case situation of information mismanagement, because there is almost no respect given to the people, and also to the implications. I always say to people that one of the biggest things that leaders must have is an awareness of the fact that not today but tomorrow, the implications of actions that are taken for the long run. Because look, the reason why their social media is so abuzz with all these things is simply because there is no information. And nature abhors a vacuum. Once there's a vacuum, all manner of imaginations begin. I mean, if you went to your doctor, for example, and you had just a small spot on the head, and the doctor looks at it and stares at it and looks at it and then just says, and that's all he says.
Let me pick you up on this issue about party politics and what the PDP is trying to achieve. It seems it's drumming the welcome back song to some of his members that have actually left the PDP to other parties.
Yes.
Do you think that drumming is loud enough to woo them back?
Well, I don't know. The first question has to be, why do Nigerians join political parties? Very few of our political parties are actually parties. I mean, they may not like it, but they're not parties of ideology. It's not about right-mindedness. It's just about people getting together with those they think they can work with. That's why you find out that it's easy in Nigeria to decamp from one party to the other. Nigerians have epiphanies every other week and suddenly get up and announce that I discovered that party is not for the masses, and then the same man 6 months later decides that the other party is not for the masses. So in reality, we all know that our political process And to be frank, it's a product of our own thinking process. Very few Nigerians are people of principle. Or very few Nigerians, you can go down, and find out what the depth of their principle, where our culture tends to deal with more of pragmatic approach to whatever needs to be done. And that's also affecting us in leadership, because we're always dealing with when you talk about, you're talking about the president, for example, you talk about issues, somebody comes up and wants to criticize it, that either you like him or you don't like him. It's got nothing to do with whether I like a man or don't like man. If somebody is tall, is tall. If someone is short, is short. I may not like him. Now, if you ask me, do I like him? It's a different story. So we have that problem. It's affecting our political process. You have men who join a party because this party is winning in my state. So I'm a member of the party. I got to do that to win. What do they believe in? Nothing. And so when he appoints a cabinet full of people in his state as commissioners, half of them don't agree with him. They fall to power. So the PDP's issues and back, you find that all the movements have actually been personal in Nigeria. People join one party because it's personal move. So the drumming, God knows how it's going to affect them. It's going to be based on how they read the terrain.
So what's the attraction then? What's the attraction for them to remain where they are?
At the moment, they are in party in power. And if tomorrow you think that party in power is going to lose power, then they will jump ship as fast as you can see their jumping
If
ship.
I could stretch some of your initial points a little further, that likability question. Because the thing is, if you bring it back to public office, even the presidency, the thing is, no matter what you do, people will always criticize what you do. So if you factor that in, and then when you say the reason why social media is a boss is because lack of information or something. Now, factor that part in, wherein no matter what you do, people will have the opinion.
Yes.
What could they have done differently, that notwithstanding?
Well, I'm going to start on an assumption that everything is normal, because that's all the information I have so far. That if that is the case, then the people should have been kept informed. The lack of information is actually worse than whatever has happened. It's like somebody said once about Nixon, that Watergate was not the offense, it was the cover-up. It is when there is no clarity in communication, and that's the same in every organization. Once there is a lack of clarity in the communication of what's happening, that is the facts, even if you want to spin the facts, let's have facts.
So what do you think is hazy now?
For example, we actually have no idea of the president's health status. He's coming back in 2 weeks' time.
No, they say in May.
Yes, okay.
They told us
that
whenever the doctors say he will. So that's
okay. So what's the doctor waiting for? Why is the doctor keeping him in the UK? Especially since from the report of the meeting he had with the governors, he was not in hospital. It means he's
okay. You think that much information should be made known to Nigerians?
We should know, so that's based on which we can make our plans. If we want to welcome, maybe our plan is to welcome him. At least let's know.
But what if they then say, but we know that in this part of the world, or it's in Africa or Nigeria, people don't disclose certain things that they consider very personal, that even some of those who are criticizing, if they were in that position tomorrow, they wouldn't disclose that same information?
Yes. Even if they would not. You see, this is where I'm different, the way I look at it. I do not have to disclose to you what affects me. But when you become my leader, it is absolutely necessary that you disclose to me what affects me. Because what affects you is no longer you personally. It's now us. What affects Mr. President is no longer the president. It affects all of us. And you've noticed, let's take a classic example, Mandela. Mandela had stopped being president of South Africa, but his life affected the nation. So every time he went to hospital, all of us got to know about it. Every time he had an infection, we all got to know about it. And yet he was 92, and yet we were all kept informed. Fundamentally. Why? Because the life of the nation is tied to the life of their leader. So you get to certain positions where you lose certain rights, fundamentally. The right to be private becomes a right that is lost after a stage, within certain limits, of course. So in reality, if that is the drive behind it, the question is, it's causing more harm than good at the end of the day. And there are things, it's like a president gets up and gives a speech. As a private citizen now, everything I've said is my own personal opinion, my right. But one thing that the American president is discovering is that speeches he makes have long-term, they're not just about him and the media. It's about the world.
So his aides are not doing a pretty good job?
As at the moment, all I can say, because I don't know where the breakdown is between his communications chief and himself. there's a breakdown in talking to the people of Nigeria and in therefore providing leadership. That's my own forte. I'm all about leadership is that discipline that deliberately influences the people towards goals of beneficial permanence, that fulfills the group's real needs. Now, the question is, are we being influenced in a positive direction by the actions that have been around this health situation? The truth is, no. Let's call a spade a spade.
Okay, thank you for coming on this morning. Mr. Adetokunbo Obayan is a leadership consultant. Again, thank you for coming on.